the lack of expertise. So right now, where are you going to learn expertise if you're just confined to one company? We tell you, ladies and gentlemen, it is much better when you job hop because it actually broadens your lack of expertise. And for a better job, in order for you to actually sustain a better income and for you to climb the corporate ladder, in order for you to actually gain sustainability in life, it is vital when you have the expertise because these companies will see what you can do and then they will hire you. And then that all comes in order to save for these people. In our world, our stakeholders are the working class company. Besides the one that they've mentioned, we also cater for the ones who are already working and decided that they will also job hop in the first place. We're also catering to the company's interests as well. Because right now, it happens in both worlds. There are people who stay within the company and there are people who job hop. But the trend of job hopping is already increasing because we receive that it proves to expand to broader horizons. And moving on to my argument to prove that is that how it will allocate more expertise towards these people. Now, in our current world, what are the interests of a working class person? We think of these people who would like to explore the world, they will need more opportunities, ladies and gentlemen. And also, because they have to sustain for themselves, they will also need to gain enough revenue in order for them to cater to their daily needs. And also, in their mind, when you're in a company, obviously they want to climb the corporate ladder because there's more recognition, more respect. You also gain more income and you actually get the opportunities when you get to work with the other people. And they also cater for a conducive workspace. So that's our current role. But what is the problem that these people will most likely want to job hop? Besides the not having a conducive working space or their income is just being the same because these companies, they have a lot of employees to cater. So between like a fresh new person or even someone who's working for a long time, other than the senior employees where they have worked from time and time again, they will most likely trust these new senior employees who are going to cater to these stakeholders coming from the opening government. And the thing is that in order for you to climb the corporate ladder, in order for you to get that stable income and more recognition and respect, the impacts coming from the OG itself is that you need to stand out. And there's a competition within that insane workforce itself. You need to stand out in order for you to actually climb the corporate ladder. So the flow is that when you actually job hop, you get to go for experience in a different company because it will push you outside of your comfort zone and it will also help to sharpen your skills. Because if you're confined to one workplace, and let's say like coming from the OG, they say that all these people would look down on you because you don't know much and you're just a new person. So obviously, if that stigmatism is the one that's coming from the first company that they go for, then the thing which is inconducive workspace is that they need to go out and find another way in order for them to gain their expertise, in order for them to sharpen their skills and actually prove to themselves and also other people that they are capable of doing so. So after going for the experiences in job hopping, whether in the same or the different company, they will get to bring back the skills and they will actually be able to climb the corporate ladder because when they get hired due to the expertise that they see on the person's resume, then they know that, oh, this person actually can do a lot more. So they will hire, and then when you get to prove it yourself in your workspace as well, because you already gain the expertise, unlike some people from the OG, they said that these people do not gain the expertise at all. They actually cater that job hopping will gain the expertise that these people need. They'll get to climb the corporate ladder, and they'll also get to gain more income. They gain more revenue when they climb the corporate ladder. They go into like a senior job as for say. So the impact is that on the individual level, they are able to sustain when we already provide the expertise that they needed, and they are able to sustain enough revenue for them to cater to their daily lives. And towards the society, the workforce, when you have more expertise in your workspace, then you are then it will cater to more of a collaboration. And in we talking about the interests of the company level, now these companies obviously they will have to compete with one another and they will have to grow. So obviously they need individuals with more expertise. And when they gather these people due to job hopping after gaining those expertise, then they will actually use these employees to grow and they will actually be able to sustain the company's interest within the competition in order for them to outrise more than the other companies themselves. So the impact not only lies in the interest of the individuals where they actually do have the expertise, they get the experiences and the exposure to the outside world instead of staying in one confined box. You also cater to the interest of the company because these companies are able to sustain more in the long run and they are able to compete with the other companies and stand out even more. So that is why you should support the job hopping instead of lifelong commitment towards a company forever.
Security of the position for verifying speech, 95 to
We tell you that OO read a very soft case. All they talked was about expertise and whatnot. We tell you that they barely have any impact. They barely have anything on their case. They're all talking with no impact. So in today's debate, I'll be stating my rebuttals, moving on to my arguments, and I'll be giving a little bit of weighing where our side actually takes the debate. Okay, first, they talked about like how moving to a certain workplace once a job is conferred. Panel, understand that applying for jobs takes a lot of commitment. It takes paperwork and interviews. It takes your time, your focus. So you wouldn't have the time to really commit to your job that you currently have now because you would be stressing about, oh, how do I answer my interview? Why did they ask me this? Why did they ask me that? What if I have to answer about this? So you would end up losing your job because you would not be focused enough on the job that you have now. You would not be giving your full commitment to the work that you have, and you would not produce your best result. So they also talked about how they lack expertise anyway. Judge, we tell you that lacking expertise is a natural thing. The only way you can gain it is by having the work time, by staying loyal to the workplace that you have now. The point made doesn't even make sense from side OO, by the way. So they also talked about how they climbed the ladder. Judge, they never explicitly tell us how job hopping helps with this. The only thing I heard was expertise, and we tell you that staying in your comfort zone is the smartest decision you can make because you know your financial position, you know how much you make, you have the stable income there. Why would you want to risk it all? Why would you want to risk putting yourself in debt when you have a stable income right there and then? Would you be willing to really take that risk just to get more experience? So moving on to my arguments, my first speaker already talked about like how the long term and the short term. So I'll be explaining further into what my first speaker has said. Panel, we tell you that if you were to continue job hopping, we tell you that in the long run it will not be beneficial. Why? Two main reasons here. Many young companies are looking for young, fresh, out-of-grad students who have experience, like my first speaker had said. So having experience also doesn't guarantee you a stable job. Why? Imagine you have a stable job, a well-income job, but you feel like you deserve more, you feel like you can do more. So you end up leaving your stable job to take a risk, a really big risk, by the way. And we tell you that this is very harmful because first, when you apply for a job, like I say in my rebuttal, you have to go through the whole process of interviews and paperwork. And still, there will be no guarantee that you'll even get a call back to even go for the interview. There will be no guarantee that you'll even get an interview to go to. So there's no guarantee that you also get the job. You have to wait for an uncertain callback. And during that waiting period, we tell you that you still have to buy basic necessities like clothes, groceries, and you have to pay for your house mortgage, by the way, which isn't cheap. None of these are cheap, by the way. They're big things that you will have to pay for. You will only be putting yourself in debt. Some opposition might come up here and talk about the well-being of these workers. They might talk about like, oh, what if they're not happy there? If you're not happy, you're not going to succeed, you're not going to be okay. So can we tell you that even if they're not happy working there, in the end, let's think realistic here. Money is the most important thing in this world. Money is something that everybody needs. Without money, you can't go anywhere. You can't do anything. So without money, you can't have a stable life. So without money, your life will be forced to be put on hold. We tell you that in the long run, yes, You may hate your job, you may be stressed out because, oh, my job is so bad, I hate it because my workers are all bullying me. But we tell you that it's less stress compared to job hopping, because our worst case here is that these workers are not happy with their jobs. But we tell you that on their worst case is that you still, yeah.
You have to understand, if you're going to talk about mental health, then how are these workers supposed to be productive within that workplace if they're just going to stay for a long time there?
Okay, understand that workers, they go to work for a reason, right? Obviously their managers will give them jobs, they will give them assignments to do. So your point there completely doesn't stand, because if you're a working person, obviously you will be productive because you will have to do things. You have to do you will have to go for interviews, you will have to do paperwork, you will have to do things for your company because it's a job. That's what a job is meant to do. So our worst case here is that these workers are not happy with their jobs. But we tell you that even in our worst case, we still get the better outcome, because even though they aren't happy, at least they can afford food, they can afford groceries, they can afford a roof over their heads, and they can still afford a good, stable life. They can live a comfortable life. We tell you that with job hopping, there is no guarantee that you will be able to live a stable life. There is no guarantee that your mental health will be stable, because you will be stressing out about finding jobs, stressing out about food, stressing out about bills most importantly. Is that the life that you really want to take to your panel? Is that the life that you really want to live? So, we talked about how employers are also looking for new minds now. Panel, understand that as the years go by, society will evolve. That's something we cannot change. Technology will evolve. So, therefore, employers will look for new minds to bring new ideas to the company. So, why is this so harmful? Imagine, again, you're a middle-aged woman, you live a stable life, you're already at a good company, but obviously you want to try chasing your dreams because now you're old and I want to try chasing my dreams. You're trying to get a new job. So many companies won't take in middle-aged women because they want people who can think differently, people who can think like the new generation now. Because as the world evolves, many things will change. Some things that some old people will not understand, that only new generation can understand. Like for example, slangs now. If you were to ask my mom, she probably won't understand what slay means. So as a middle-aged woman from working in a stable company, you will be forced to accept a lower income job just to make basic livings, just to get by on your daily needs. So panel, understand that even if you're young, there is still no guarantee that you can live a good life. Why? There's no guarantee that you can get a job. Because let's use SPM results for example. Obviously, every student in this room are students, right? They want to do good for SPM. They want to get scholarships. So let's say student A gets straight A's, but student B gets straight A pluses. Who do you think the company will take in? Who do you think universities will take in? Obviously, the student with more experience. Obviously, the student with straight A pluses. So it goes the same way with companies. Companies will always pick the worker with the most experience because they want what's best for the company. They want what's best for the future outcome. So in the end, you will only put yourself in more trouble and in more harm and death than compared to what you have now. We also talked about mental health. We tell you that by job hopping, it creates more stress and it creates more stress. Why? Because when you have to worry about your interviews, you have to worry about necessities. You won't be able to focus on the work you have now, and you won't be able to produce the best outcome for the company, which can cause the company to start downgrading you and saying oh, you're not giving your full best, you have to cut your payment, which makes you lose more money in the end. So in the end, you lose your job. Job hopping is just really harmful and risky at all. So let's do a little bit of weighing here why our side takes the debate. We say our side takes the debate because side opposition ran on a really simple case on experiences. And while we actually give you future impacts on how this actually benefits our side. And with that, I rest my case. Thank you.
Thank you, Vivian, for your fine speech. Next,
I'll be beginning my speech in 3, 2, 1. Panel, within that side of government is running a very controversial case right now. They're telling you that the people who have the incentive to job hop in the first place are like university students who who just graduated, right, or students post SPM. And also, they talk about the main problems of job hopping as the interval that you have to go, as the process that you have to go to job hop. But we'll tell you why this doesn't exist, right? We tell you that for people to job hop, right, we think you have to like worry about these interviews or the question that you have to go to get a new job, then they wouldn't job hop in the first place. Hence, the only reason why they're telling that people would job hop is because of like workplace conditions, right? And we think this is something that really does matter. But this isn't the only reason people do job hop. People job hop to get like more experience, more expertise, to get more, like, to broaden their horizons. It isn't just to get new workplace conditions, right? Hence, let's move on to a few rebuttals, right? Like, the point coming from the deputy about how it's not beneficial because you have to risk the entire process, about the mental health that goes behind this. But you have to understand, if people stay in the long, basically tell you already, if people stay in the same company for a long time and then they know that the company is stressful, but they tell you, oh, it's better for you to just stay there because you already can sustain your income. But panel, if you're stressed out there, if you cannot like work properly, then how are you supposed to even like gain funds or even do the duties that your company assigns you? This is something that was never stated from them, and this is something that is very controversial because they're telling you, oh, it's better for you to just sacrifice your mental health, your entire mental health and well-being just so that you can gain revenue. We think that when you are able to job hop, when you're able to go into new workplace conditions, you can find new places that work better for you, that you will be more productive and you can get more money. You can gain more better workplace conditions for you to become more productive and for you to be able to climb the corporate ladder better. Because now people know that, oh, within these certain conditions, you are able to work better. Also, they tell you that employers look for new minds, right? So, for example, like a middle-aged woman cannot like really like middle-aged woman cannot really go articulated, can't really go to a new place, right? But we tell you that you get experience through job hopping. If even like you're a middle-aged woman, if you are able to job hop by sustaining a job, confirming that you are able to go into a new company and to get new more experience, more expertise there. Before that, yes.
Okay. You talked about like how they didn't job hop, but they knew about interviews and paperwork, whatnot, right? But isn't that how you look for jobs? Isn't that how you apply for basic jobs?
Yeah, they didn't go and apply basic job. This is how they apply for basic job, like interviews and the process all that, right? But within that interval, it doesn't mean that they're not going to stay at the job that they're not going to stay in their first job in the first place. They're still going to work there. But until they are confirmed to go into that new job, only then will they go. It's not like about you're going to lose funds if you have to wait for the entire process panel. This is something that's very controversial about them. Also, they also told you about how they'll never learn through experience. For example, like the teacher analogy given by their prime minister. But the thing is, the reason people job hop isn't just because of conditions. Like a teacher goes to a new school and they're going to get bullied. We think this is also assumptions coming from them, right? And also, we think they can go to new schools just so that they can broaden their horizons, they can teach new subjects, they can have new roles within that school. This is also a reason that they job hop. Their entire case is based on the fundamental value that you job hop just because of the condition of your workplace. We do not think this is good on their side, right? Hence, they're also showing you that committing to a certain company equals to respect. But no, it equals to vulnerability. Hence, what happens when your commitment actually becomes a way for companies to know that you are vulnerable? It becomes a reason for the companies to actually like take more advantage of you, take more expertise of you. Because of course there's still mentioned that a lot of these people are in poverty, right? Hence, they're going to have to commit to those jobs for a long time. Hence, if those companies know that those people are the most vulnerable, then they're going to push those people more just so that they can get more money and get more work out of those people. Hence, hence, moving on to a few new arguments, right? We think you're able to get more networking from job hopping, right? Because the problem here today is that people stay inclined within the companies with like the same people, the same lab, the same leaders, and mostly the same corporation that they have to go through, right? Hence, how does job hopping allow for more networking? Because one, you're going to go to a different company, you're going to go to a different profession, and you're going to meet new people around you. New people who can give you advice, new people who can give you new tips and tricks for you to work better. Hence, you are able to cooperate with those people to gain more expertise to actually like broaden your horizon and connections, right? So what are the impacts of this? We think it's easier for you to get like more revenue, and it's also easy for you to get more title within the corporate world, right? This is something that they never mentioned, because you have to understand, when you are able to job hop, you are able to go from new company to another company. You can also have a new renowned title within the corporate world, right? Because you share your expertise with a lot of companies. You're not just staying and sticking to one. We think this can happen because expertise doesn't just disappear. Experience doesn't just disappear when you move into a new job. Hence, people will still think in you, and people will understand that, oh, this person is a very valuable person from another company. Let's take them in, and we're able to further connect with that person. So we're going to actually build connection with another company because that person was already from another company, right? But before that, okay, thank you. Hence, moving to our next point, which is about life mobility and the well-being of these workers in the first place, right? We think when you stay in one company for a long time, you're going to have like the same place, you're going to have to commit yourself to the same time, the same schedule, the same ideals that your company wants you to give, right? Hence, job hopping allows you to like move it out into new places. If you're going to stay in one company, we think that they're going to have we think that companies usually work in like the same building for most of the time, right? Hence, when you're able to job hop, you're able to branch out into like new further places. Maybe you're even able to go work abroad and work in those companies. So you're able to get like more mobility of life. You're gonna have like more freedom of life, and we think this is good because number one, because the freedom of life gives you better mental health. It doesn't mean you confined to just one workplace in the long run. And secondly, we think this is able to broaden their horizons. It shows you like a new perspective, and from that from how life mobility happens when you are able to job hop, not necessarily when you are confined to this blocks of like one company, right? So what do we think we are able to get a little bit of wing? We think on their side, the only reason that they're trying to promote long-term like commitment is just because so you can like quote unquote climb on the corporate ladder better. But however, on our world, when you are able to job hop, you can actually gain more expertise. You can actually like cooperate with new companies, and also this can happen, this is true, because when you job hop, it doesn't mean like you're going to lose your expertise or even like ruin your reputation. We don't think this happens because people have to, because companies will still accept you if you have a good background. That's all, panel. Please support.
Thank you, Diallo, for a very fine speech to open the closing of the debate by the workshop.
I'll be starting my speech in 3, 2, 1. Alright, so let me do a bit of framing. Government's world, companies have stability. People who are doing the same thing every day, completing the same process to perfection. That is what a company with stability looks like. And on ops world, it looks like a company that is built with people that are unfamiliar with their roles. And what do I mean by that? It means that people who are just got into the company, people who are new, people who have no clue on the processes. These are the people that are running this company. These are the people that are building this company, and this is what it looks like on ops world. Companies who lack stability and have people who don't even understand their operations properly. And it'll take a long time to foster. And basically, the stakeholders for this motion is everybody, the working class. Doesn't matter how poor, doesn't matter how unfortunate you are, it's the working class. If you have a job, you are a stakeholder in this debate. And why the government wins against the opposition in terms of our worlds? In government's world, companies, for example, companies get the stability, companies get everything. Even the people as well. People will get more appreciated. People will feel incentivized to work at a company, and people will feel appreciated again. And the best case of our side is that people will feel appreciated. People will feel benefits. People will be able to work alongside the company. Whereas opposition's best case is that, okay, maybe you will get better opportunities, like how maybe you get better wages and stuff. But the worst case scenario is that you are left insecure. Your finances are insecure. You're insecure no matter your finances are insecure. You have no stability in life because you're job hopping. Job hopping gives no guarantee that you're living a good life. That is their worst case. People, for example, since stakeholders, one of them is people who are in poverty are still working. These people can never break out of poverty because their worst case is that they never get a good job because you're job hopping. And now onto my extensions. Number 1, the benefits for long-term commitments. Companies have the incentive to reward long-term commitments. Why? 3 reasons. The people that work in these companies are people that build the company up. All of these processes are run by these people who have been doing the same process every day. That's how I framed it. So companies would be more incentivized to reward these people because all of their revenue, all of their investments, all of these shares come from them. And secondly, people who the company recognizes as hardworking individuals. Because you have worked so long in this company, companies know you by name, people know you by name, people know you by your title. That is why companies will recognize you. You will feel recognition in these companies. And number three, people who have stayed loyal for the company will inevitably face the benefits because for all the above reasons that companies have incentives. And I'll like to give an example. In Japan, companies actually reward retirees still a salary. They reward retirees with salary for just sitting sitting in the company and doing basic admin work. And the reason why these seniors actually reap these benefits is because the company is showing that they recognize that these seniors have worked long term in the company. They recognize that these seniors have put in so much effort into the company. That is why these seniors, they're able to reap these benefits. And this also gives an impact to these seniors that, sure, maybe you aren't, because when you're a senior, right, you won't be able to get a new job because people are more incentivized to hire the younger working class. So as a senior, it's hard to get a job inevitably. So by working long term, you stay in a company. You still reap the benefits because companies recognize you are a hard worker. You get everything. So that is why seniors will also get paid. Seniors will also be able to enjoy their life in the company because they're given less work by the company. And that is a benefit. And that is an example that's shown in Japan. That is how Japanese companies actually incentivize younger workers to stay in companies because it just shows that companies are much more incentivized to long-term planning towards people as well. And onto impacts. The first impact is that work efficiency decreases because it's the same people that are running your processes. It's not a new person that's handling your admin work. It's not a new person that is handling your factory work. And it causes growth for companies because there's already stability. You already know who's running this. You already know who's doing this. So it also wouldn't cause like a decrease in quality. It wouldn't cause a decrease in efficiency for the company as well. The second impact is that people feel happy and appreciated. As an example, as I stated before, as well as incentives of why companies have to reward these people, is that people will feel happy and appreciated because, hey, you're being recognized for your title, you're being recognized for how hard you're working. So that is one of the major impacts to this, to my extension. And to my second extension, job hopping affects more than just the young graduates. And okay, so basically the working class and the middle age get pushed to the side to face the work trend run. And if we're taking ops world where companies are incentivized to hire people with more experiences, because they have been running that, oh, if you job hop, then you get to gain more experience, you get to gain more expertise. Well, if you think about this, the working class, which is also a stakeholder in this debate, they're extremely vulnerable if we're running an ops case. Because they're pushed that companies will be more incentivized to hire people who have more expertise. So what about the middle-aged class that is working in said company? If it's ops world, then these people will be left without a job because the companies think that, oh, these people have more expertise. That means that they provide you more benefits rather than this current person that is middle-aged that's working in the company. So yeah, they'll be more incentivized to do that. And the impact of this is that the person that chose to work long-term in a company will inevitably be lost of a job because this is ops case. And now I also like to go into a few rebuttals. So I just want to say a few things that, opposition has stated that, you get more networking if you job hop. You get more opportunities if you job hop. But I'd like to say that this is equal on both sides. Okay, what do I mean by this? Well, for example, we are all, because they're stating that we are stuck in a box, like if we work in a company stuck in a box. Well, we're all schools that chose to go to this or this school, but yet why are we all still here debating with each other and getting a network, right? So this does not mean that just because you're stuck somewhere, just because you choose this company, doesn't mean that you can't network, because there's multiple ways to network. Well, and there's multiple ways to network, even with a stable job. So this is something that is equal on both sides. Opportunities are equal on both sides. Opportunities like going to work fairs, representing your company. Because if the company recognizes that you are loyal, that you are a hard worker, and that you bring benefits, then they will put the trust in you to network for the company. So this is equal on both sides. And as well as the opposition has stated that these skills that you get more expertise on your resume if you go and job hop, and companies will like this. But I'll let the beg to differ because, for example, if in a few years you switch from here, you switch from there, so the company will then ask another question. So if you're so good at that job, if you mastered that skill, then why are you changing courses so fast? Why are you jumping the boat so fast? So that just brings up another problem that the company sees, and inevitably, sure, okay, maybe it works, that maybe the company does see that you get more expertise. That's the end of my speech. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Next invite the member of the
Starting my speech in 3, 2, 1. Panel, what the government is trying to prove is that are just making assumptions, and assumptions. However, we on the closing opposition side would like to give you actual points with actual proof and why we are better than the government side. Okay, now moving on to my first I would like to give my rebuttals made by the government. The PM has said that if people commit to long-term jobs, they can earn respect. However, we say that on our side, we can also gain respect because we have a lot of experiences, expertise. So it doesn't just run on their side. Because if they actually commit to a long-term job, however, if they have bad performance, how can they guarantee free respect? So number one, my second rebuttal, which is people who job hop, they don't like their job. However, understand that people who job hop doesn't mean that they don't like their job. They can because they want to gain more experience or because they find another job that has higher income. So that's just assumptions again. And they say that if people who job hop, they go to interview for another company, they will highly likely to be faced with rejection. However, understand that in a resume with a lot of experience with a lot of jobs, people will acknowledge that. Because it's not just jobs, it's actual experience. So now, okay. So now moving on to my first point, which is both job hopping and long-term commitment actually creates financial stability. Okay, why? Why is it true? I will give you analysis, which is because job hopping people, they don't just go pick a random from having a good job to just becoming someone who picks up trash. No, they actually analyze which jobs they have a good income, which job can give them a financial stability. So on their side, yes, they can also have financial stability because it's long term. However, on our side also can have it. Okay. So and then we would like they have said about teens, adults. However, we would like to say another stakeholder that people have not actually said at all. What about people, those who have no degree or have no SPM because of their circumstances, because they are in poverty? They have no other choice except to actually job hop, to actually have experience. So they don't have a degree, so they have to actually gain experience from another job to another job to another job in order to actually have a job that is financially stable. So these poverty people that are very, very vulnerable. However, none of you guys have said that, have never hit that. Okay. Now moving on to my okay. And then we would also like to say that we would like to clarify that people who job hop, it's not because job hop, they actually their incentive is because they want a promotion. They want to have a promotion. When they gain experiences, they can actually gain experience and also gain a promotion in another company. Just because it's different companies doesn't mean that the company will not acknowledge. No, thank you. Will not acknowledge their expenses and their experiences. Okay. So now moving on to my second argument, which is
mentally unstable. So imagine a person who works long term, commitment works long term, right? However, what if they have a bad environment, bad people who work for people who treat them that bad, but because they want to commit, right? So there is a societal pressure. There's a societal pressure for them to actually, oh, I have to work long enough for this. So so they have to conform to the societal pressure. And you say that, oh, it's okay because if they're happy, at least they have a financial, they are financially stable and they have money. However, keep in mind that people in Korea, many people in Korea who work long-term commitment jobs, they commit suicide. Why? So because when they are treated badly, they have bad performance. When they have bad performance, when they have bad performance, it affects their jobs. And of course, the boss will be like, why are you like this? So they can get fired and etc. etc. Okay, so now moving on to my worst case scenario on both sides. Okay, on the government side, on the opposition side, if we get stressed, you said about the interviews, we get stressed by the interviews, etc. At least we have like. It's not really on our side because we are facing the burden is by ourselves. We just have to create resumes, etc. But we already have the experiences, so it's a stress, but it's not that big compared to your side because there's, like I said, there's a bad environment in companies. Those are harder to control. So therefore, on your side, people will be more vulnerable. They are exposed to a more vulnerable state. So therefore, bad mental health, bad performance, bad financial stability, and can lead to suicide. So on our side, we are much more better because not only do we have financial stability, but we also have more experience, we can gain promotion, and we can also have better mental health. Okay, and moving on to my another worst case scenario is that on your side, you say that you say that our side, if we go to another country, we will go to another company, we will get rejected, right? Because we job hop too much. So I understand that job hopping. It's not like every week I change jobs. No, it's like in a few months, and you actually analyze which job that you want, which job is better, which one gives better income. So on your side, if an individual gets fired because they have bad performance, then this becomes already long term. They get fired because they get they have bad performance or something, and then another country will also just why are you working longer than you get fired? However, on job hopping, because you have shorter terms, right? Shorter terms. So companies, other companies will be like, you have experience, so we'll accept you. So on your side, it's a lot more risky. I don't understand why you say that on our side, you are a lot more risky. So before I end my speech, I would like to state our stance, which is that we believe job hopping actually caters to the well-being of individuals and also companies. With that, I end my speech.
Thank you for the time of your speech.
So before I start my house analysis, I like to put out that our worst case is that we have the risk of maybe not getting recognized for our potential and our talent, even though we've already worked in that job for like 10 years. But their best case is that even through job hopping, we can manage to get like a better position, a better title, and we can manage to get higher income. Now, why even if during our worst case we're still better? It's because even if we don't get the potential we don't get like recognized for our talents and our potential, the thing is the chances of this happening is actually really minuscule and really slim. Like this doesn't really happen often because as we mentioned before already, companies are more incentivized to reward their workers for their perseverance and their dedication. So if your employee has worked here for 10 years, there's like no reason for you to like ignore them and not know that they've worked here for a really long time, right? So obviously you won't get ignored, you won't get forgotten. You're obviously being rewarded for your efforts, Whereas if you job hop a lot, you're basically starting at zero, starting at scratch from every company. So why would people actually want to reward you more for that? Well, yeah, so, and in their best case is that, again, you get higher income when you job hop, you get a higher position, but the chances of this happening is also really, really minuscule, because if many people are already committed to their companies, right, and if they already have high enough positions, there will not be many open spots of like higher positions for you to take, even if you want to job hop. So again, there's no guarantee for you to actually get a higher income and more stable income if you job hop. Okay, so now, you're responding to OG first. We actually agree with a lot of OG's claims. Firstly, I would like to state that why we are better. Yes, first we do get uplifted a better position, but how does this actually look like? When you get, this actually looks like if you get stable income, you get the more potential and more chances to be recognized, right? And actually this provides you with more opportunities because your boss will actually help give you chances more for you to develop your job better. So obviously if you're like a manager now, your boss obviously wants to give you more assignments, more chances, more tasks, right? So obviously you get more chances to see like the outside world, you get to broaden your horizon, you get to see more of the industry because your boss is putting you out there for you to learn more. And again, now you're able to gather expertise, and this is actually more chance for you to meet the people around you that are of your same level. Now, what do I mean by this? So, for example, if you're like a senior manager right now, because you've committed to this job for a really long time, now when you go out into your social circle will obviously be filled with people who are on the same level as you, right? There will also be many senior managers here talking to you. So obviously now you can actually improve your skills more, and you can actually gain more advice from your peers. Whereas if you're gaining advice from a rookie employee, obviously you won't learn much, right? So with this, you can actually help improve your work efficiency more. And so yeah, so again, you said that while you are job hopping, right, there will be a gap where you don't have a stable source of income, where you don't even possibly have income at all because you're still waiting for your confirmation of another job. Now, what does this also look like? This actually looks like when, yes?
See that if you go long term, you can get networking as well. But however, on outside, you can get networking from many more people. Is it outside better?
Okay, I'll respond to that later in our reference. So actually, what does this look like? This looks like when you wake up, because you don't have a job right now, so obviously you don't have any discipline, you don't have anything in your schedule to do. So when you wake up, you're basically just running in bed. You may wake up at 1 or 2 o'clock. No discipline again, since you have nothing to do and you have no money to earn, right? So obviously, if you don't have any money to earn, you also cannot pay for your food, your necessities, your items. Yes, you may have savings, but savings won't last you that long while waiting for your job confirmation. And finally, panel, you have to understand that with job hopping, you also need to cope with like the adjustments in your new jobs. You need to catch up with many projects you've been missing on. You need to try to fit in. And the whole process of this is actually really tiring and stressful because, as we mentioned before, if many of these people have actually known each other for a really long time, they wouldn't want to accept a person who's new to this job, right? Especially if that person doesn't have stable income at all, they don't even have any friends in that job, no title and no position. This will actually give them more stress and make them more mentally unstable. Okay, next. I'll respond to OO. So OO says that even while there's this gap going on, you can still take on side incomes. But again, the process of hiring takes a really long time. How can you guarantee that how can you guarantee that you have so many backup plans, you have so many other jobs to go to while waiting for this confirmation of another job? And actually, companies focus a lot more on loyalty. So panel, if you were a boss, we want to hire someone who has continuously changed jobs for like the past year. We want to hire someone who has changed over 5 companies. If you hire them, wouldn't that mean that they won't stay loyal to your company? So why would you even want to hire them in the first place? Next, OO also said that you cannot you can job hop because you're confined in a job, right? Again, as we mentioned, like this is not confined because you can actually broaden your horizon when boss and your boss can actually give you more opportunities. So again, if you want to broaden your horizon, there's actually many other opportunities that job hopping. You can actually go to like exhibitions. You can go participate in exchange programs like between companies. You can actually meet all these new people and broaden your networking, your social circle, even while still staying in the company and having a stable job. So, for example, you can go to Mid Valley has a lot of exhibitions, right? When you can go to a Mid Valley exhibition, you can go and meet all these other vendors, meet all these other people, and you can exchange business cards, exchange information, all at the same time while keeping your stable income and your stable position in your job. So, you can actually still gain advice without having a job hop, and I think the claim that job hopping helps gain more expertise is really silly because while you're promoted to a really high position in your job after committing, you can actually gain more expertise that way. Rather than if you start from zero every time, you're just gaining like small knowledge here and there, but it's not a long term and it's not a really full in-depth thing that you can gain. Everything you gain is really shallow knowledge, and it doesn't really help you in the long run. Again, OO has said that you can collab because you can collab with more companies because you have more expertise, right? But again, bosses would want to collab more with the people that they can trust, and the people who they can trust are people who have worked in the company for a long time already. Lastly, CEO has said that people with their stakeholders are people who know degrees. But again, if you have no degree, isn't that all the more reason for you to stay longer in your company? Because you can gain respect, you can build your reputation, you can build your image. Rather than if you keep putting yourself out there with zero, nobody is going to hire you. So again, as government, we have stated that many times that while we can still keep our stable income and position, we are still learning many more things. We can gain advice and gain more expertise. But rather, opposition, they're putting themselves out there with the risk and zero guarantee that they can actually get their job. And while all this is happening, they still have no stable source of income. So this is why government wins the debate.
Thank you, Rahul, for that nice speech. Finally, like,
I'll be giving you three arguments why their cases fall. Okay, so the first one, they said that the companies have the incentive to reward their loyal workers. But how are you so sure that it's going to happen? Because understand that as I said, how are you so sure that they are going to reward these people? And they also said that workers become like more like, how are you so sure that they are going to reward the loyal people? Because understand that for the company to actually see your efforts is by being productive. But at the same time, they are rejecting or they are pushing away the mental health of the well-being of the workers. So they are not prioritizing their mental health. So what I'm trying to say is that mental health is prerequisite for productive workforce. They also claim that mental health isn't really that good because we are in a working environment. We shouldn't really prioritize mental health and etc. But I say that it's a prerequisite for a good workforce, for a more good quality work. I'll take it later. So, and then second is, they said that there's no discipline and like it's hard to adjust if you keep job hopping. But understand that when you actually enter a company, everybody starts from zero. You are going to nonetheless explore and actually adapt to these certain companies. And also, doesn't this country, because they also said that workplaces are just for work. Okay, so. So the third one that we said they are about networking, but this is actually catering on our side. Our side is much better on networking because understand that we are exploring all these type of different companies rather than them staying at the same company. Maybe meeting new people, but that is only for a short amount of time. But understand when we actually explore and go to different companies, we meet new people. Therefore, our side is better on this networking. So even if they actually prove that this script
they cater to stable commitments, but understand that they are remaining stagnant in their box. They said that they want to stay in their comfort zone, but at the same time they said that they want new expertise. So which one are you guys claiming right now? So next one. So for here, the stakeholders, we really prioritize the people, we really prioritize mental health rather than the job force, because they stated that they will be financially stable, but they are pushing away.
Okay. You asked on how our side is sure that we can reward these workers if they work at our company long term. But how sure are you that you can get better jobs from job hopping? Because in the end, you might not get the job you want, and you might not get a better position from the job you had before.
Thank you. But understand the root cause of job hopping is because of the workforce, maybe by mental instability that's maybe like bullying going on, or you getting another promotion from companies. We don't just job hop because we want to. It's because there is something going on in that workforce for the actual worker to job hop. Is that clear? So next one. Also, the opening government stated that one place that they would work in Dunkin' Donuts and then next is Starbucks. But that is actually really important for the teenagers, not teenagers, but university students to actually sustain their life. Understand that working on only one company, as you being after team, example you after SPM, it's good for you to job hop to get this more experience. As they said, that experience are what's important. So for my there are actually three clashes in the debate, which is first comfort zone versus company revenue versus well-being. Okay, the government their arguments actually false because they are saying that loyalty is important, that this and that, but also they didn't really provide enough structure or foundation that they didn't provide enough structure or foundation to actually have the government to actually have the incentive to give them. Because as I said, there are so many points that I said that the government wouldn't, the company wouldn't do so. So, as I said, why should loyalty be important when, for example, there are things that is happening in your workplace, like for example, getting bullied or maybe harassment? Why should you stay loyal? Why should you be adapt to the company when, as I said, there's all these root cause why you want to job hop in the first place? So, and then next is long-term versus short-term. So for our side, is what do we mean by long-term? Is actually not on jobs, but actually in the workers itself. When you get this more expertise, you go outside, you get promotions, you get this and that. This is better for them because, as I said, the government claimed that being in the comfort zone is much better than going outside and improving yourself. They didn't really state it like what comfort zone are they taking. So why they are short term is because of their stagnant life and their assumption on the workers actually getting the incentive to reward you more. So that's it. I think.
Thank you, opposition for a very fine speech. Thank you to all the guests for the amazing debate. You guys can cross your hands. There will be an OA, so you guys can wait outside while the judges are live. Thank you guys.